Welcome to Lake TV's Community Spotlight show, brought to you by the great folks at COMC, Central Ozarks Medical Center, where your health is their mission. And today we are focusing on the Osage Indians, right? We've got a couple of Osage Indian coaches here with us today, Miriam Hill, and then Coach Flash, right?
Yes, sir.
It's greatness, David Flaspohler. So thank you guys for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
All right. So we're into the spring season of sports. Now you coach track and field.
And cross country.
And cross country. Now do they both do spring or?
No, cross country's in the fall.
Cross country's in the fall.
Track's in the spring.
Okay. And Coach Flash here, you're baseball?
Baseball, yes, sir. And the last 7 years have also been the head softball coach.
Okay.
And have decided to open other opportunities up in the fall.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. But you had success as a softball coach, right?
Yes, sir. 2017, we won our first girls softball district championship.
How about
and
that?
had some phenomenal athletes and a great coaching staff, and blessed to be a part of that.
It does not get any better than that, that's for sure. Okay, so Coach Hill, Miriam Hill, so being a track coach, for anybody who has participated in track before, there are about 5,000 events, right? So does that mean you have to know how to coach all of those events?
Fortunately, we are very blessed, especially here at Osage, and I've been in districts where we only had one or two coaches and you had to know a lot more about your events or coaching all the events. We have specialty coaches that can specialize in throws, specialize in jumps, whether it's the vertical or horizontal jumps. We have sprint coach, and then we have a distance coach, and then I'm the distance coach.
You're the distance,
So, yes,
which would
yeah.
go with the cross country.
Correct,
Right?
yes.
Okay, so cross country is in the fall, track and field in the spring. So how did your cross country team do this last
We
year?
actually did really well. Girls won districts again. They've won multiple times throughout the year, but for this team, this was their second time in back to back. And then they went on to state and placed 7th. The guys were 3rd at their districts this year, and so they went as a team as well, and they ended up placing 14th at the state meet.
Wow,
yeah,
so a
it was
lot of
to-
good success.
Yeah,
That's
yep, really good
fantastic.
success.
So in being a track and field coach, do you have to stay in shape? Do you still do a lot of running, or because you get a lot of coaches that are big and fat there on the end of the bench, and it's like, don't do as I do, just go do what I tell you to do, right?
Yeah, so I feel like it's important that the coach can be out there on the roads with their athletes. One, just to make sure they're doing what they should be doing, but I think it also helps to show them, that you enjoy the sport as well. We have been very blessed. We have 4 coaches during the cross country season because we have over 50 kids between middle school and high school.
Wow.
And I did run with them up until 14. Now I have to bike or walk. I had a couple bouts with leukemia and then some knee issues that came from part of that. And so anyway, unfortunately am not running with them as much as I am, but I'm out there on the roads every day. We had practice this morning at 6 in the cold and the flurries. And I was, out there with them, and it helps them. I always tell them, I haven't asked you to do anything that I haven't done myself.
Right.
So if I'm out there instead of riding in a nice warm vehicle, that seems to help their
Right.
motivation a little bit.
I'd be in the warm vehicle with donuts and coffee, So did I hear you say you've overcome leukemia?
Yeah, I've had it twice.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm guessing the kids, there's a lot of respect, I'm sure, that comes for you for overcoming those kind of battles and stuff too.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I just, I hope to get across to them that, there's a lot that life throws at you, and it's how you embrace it and what you do with it, and
Absolutely.
how you, overcome and conquer and move on.
Absolutely. Coach Flash, love that name, man. That's like the best name ever. That might be the best name we've ever had on the show. Coach Flash, David Flaspohler. So you're the baseball coach.
Yes, sir.
How's the team looking this spring?
Looking young. We have 9 freshmen.
Wow.
We have 5 sophomores, and then 1 senior and 9 juniors. So I don't want to say a rebuilding year,
Right.
but the kids are working hard thus far, and by the time this airs, we will have started our first week of games, and once we start those games, it's 4 games a week.
Wow.
Until like the last 2 weeks.
How many games do you play in a season?
About 25.
Do you?
So
Okay.
3 tournaments and 17 games, I do believe.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's cool. And Missouri's one of those states where I grew up in Wyoming. We didn't have high school baseball because it was too cold. Right. But then I lived in Texas for a lot of my life. Man, it's all baseball all the time down
Yes.
there. So the weather does play a big part of when you can play.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. This past week was a little challenging. We were hosting basketball districts at the same time, and then with the weather we were stuck inside 3 out of the 5 days. So finding the space and practice indoors, we got to get pretty creative.
I always liked practicing indoors baseball because you didn't get the bad hop, right?
Yes, true hops
The
all the
floor
time.
is flat. So there
Those
you
are
go.
called Sunday hops.
There you go. Absolutely. So Coach Hill, you love running, right? I mean, you coach it, but you love it. You've run all over the country, and you've competed pretty much all of your life, right? Where did this love for running come from?
Probably it started with my parents. They were very big into making sure that we recognize the importance of health. So healthy eating, exercise. My dad was behind a desk often, throughout the day. And when we get home from school, he literally from the age we were, old enough to remember, he and my mom would head out to this old airstrip. And there in New Haven, Missouri, it was just, it was no longer used. And they'd put us as little kids on a blanket. And as we got older, then we could join them on this airstrip and run. And so I have been running since I was 3 years old.
Wow.
And started, when the road race craze, kind of started in the 70s. My dad would, jump in some of those and take us. And so we just started running road races. And then I had the opportunity then in high school to be the one-man team.
The one person
Well,
on
the
the team.
one-person team, yeah.
Wow.
So there was not a program at the time in New Haven, and so my parents were able to convince the board that I would like to run, and they allowed me to run as a junior and senior. I got to compete on the track team, and then they put together a quick cross-country team, and I was the one person on that one again. And then it just developed, from there into the collegiate level, and then after college I kept racing and ran a lot of marathons, adventure races all over the United States.
Wow. You're dedicated when they create a whole team just for you, right? So how cool is that? All right, so we are getting to know more about Osage Indians and the coaches, the track and field coach, cross-country coach Miriam Hill, baseball coach, Coach Flash. Love that. So we'll have more from them right after this. What is COMC? A health center where everyone has access to high-quality, affordable medical, dental, and behavioral health care, regardless of insurance or ability to pay. Offering primary care, preventative, chronic, pediatrics, and OBGYN. COMC even offers comprehensive dental and same-day emergency care. A health center that focuses on every aspect of your health. Everything your family needs to stay healthy. At COMC, your health is our mission. If it's happening at the lake, it's happening on Lake TV. From the polar plunge to festivals, parades, aquapalooza, and boat shows, Lake TV has it all. Even the granddaddy of them all, the shootout. If you're looking for places to party, things to do, or even a new home to move into, you've gotta love Lake TV. Welcome back to Lake TV's Community Spotlight Show, brought to you by COMC, Central Ozarks Medical Center, where your health is their mission. And we're talking with a couple of coaches from Osage High School. We don't have to call you the School of the Osage. You're a part of the School of the Osage, but you're really the Osage Indians, right?
Correct.
Okay, there you go. I'm fairly new to the lake, so I'm still learning all this stuff. But okay, so Coach Flash, baseball, you coach the baseball team, coach the softball team for a long time, won a district championship a couple years ago. So do you have a coaching philosophy? Do you go kind of into the coaching business with certain goals in mind? How do you go about that?
First and foremost, the person is always greater than the player. So anything that we're able to help them with, that's why we're there. Whether it's academics or some of the problems that they're having, we're an open ear and we're going to move from there. Now, our process is it's CPR is what we call it, and I've stole this from other coaches.
CPR.
Yep, CPR.
Okay.
And it's an acronym. Stands for character, so that's what we focus on first. To be a whole player, we have to know that character is most important. Integrity, responsibility, servant leadership, those kinds of things.
Right.
The second part of that is the process. So it's hard for us to stay in the moment and stay in that present moment in time. So we focus on being 1-0 for the day. Coach Augie Garrido, one of my favorite baseball coaches.
Former Texas coach.
Yep, Longhorns, Hook 'em Horns. He talked about baseball doesn't give us what we want, what we need, or what we ask for, but it does give us an opportunity. And that really resonated for me because you can relate that to life in various aspects.
Yeah.
You always have that opportunity, and you get to decide what kind of man or player that you want to be that day.
Yeah.
And take it one pitch at a time, and we go from there. If we can win the pitch, then we win the inning. If we can win the inning, we can win the game.
You said something which I'd never heard before, which is cool. The person is different from the player.
Uh-huh.
That's fascinating because it is a different thing, isn't it? I mean, there's a person in there that is more important than what they're doing in the sport.
Yes. They're not defined by their results on the field.
Right.
They're defined by, their character, how
Right.
they handle adversity or when things get hard. And so we understand that our players are going to miss ground balls. Our players are going to strike out. That's part of the game. The question is how do we respond to those things and how do we persevere?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as coaches, you're really teaching these kids life lessons, aren't you? I mean, things that they will remember for the rest of their lives, and it will make a difference in their lives more than likely.
Yes.
Who was it? I think it was it Billy Graham that said a coach will have more effect on a person's life than pretty much anybody else in their life. I think. Does that weigh on you? Is that a burden to know that you have that much influence over kids' lives?
No, I don't think it's a burden. I think it's a challenge,
Yeah.
and we have to take every situation and look at it as a whole and try to decide what's best.
Yeah. How about for you?
Yeah, I had some really incredible coaches throughout my high school and college career that poured a lot into me and into my teammates, and I feel, they were great leaders. They were great. I just learned a ton from them, and that's what I want to give back to my athletes as well. We developed a new program, or we didn't develop it, but an initiative at Osage now has been the Inside Out, and it's basically working with our athletes, from the inside out. It's not just as coaches the X's and O's of the game. We can all coach that, but it's really coaching that person, and how can we help them become stronger with what you have said with your C,
Yeah.
but what can we do to build them up and help them, not just from the inside, but then help them recognize that all humans have value,
Yeah.
and what they can do to make everybody feel better about themselves within the team, whether it's happening that day, whether it's a performance, whether it's a race, whether it's a workout, or those around them once they're away from us as coaches, when they're in the classroom or at work or just out in the hallways, seeing somebody and helping them feel better about themselves.
Yeah. And it's kind of, you guys are kind of like second parent, or in some cases maybe a first parent to some of these kids. And then they graduate and they go away, and it's got to be special when you see them as adults and what they've turned into and stuff like that. That's got to be an interesting, maybe a very rewarding part of what you do.
It is. Your son,
Yeah.
Adam, I attended his wedding, and Brittany Witt, I coached her in
Yeah.
softball as well.
Yeah.
And it was humbling for me that I made an impact on Adam's life, and he invited me to his wedding.
Wow.
And so to go be a part of that, I got to watch Adam in a place that was new for him, and his growth, and it was very rewarding.
And the same here, I think about some of my best athletes that we had an incredible relationship throughout, their years at school. They, became successful, whether it was successful actually on the track or on the course. And maybe they weren't that number one athlete, but, they still saw success. They saw gains, they saw improvements in their PRs. But then sometimes I think even some of my most proudest moments as an athlete are those students that are the athletes that, we struggled with each other in
Right.
regards to
Yeah.
my expectations.
Yeah.
And then throughout time, they became an incredible, they saw opportunities, they recognized, things that they did probably weren't the best while they were an athlete or a student at Osage or wherever, I coached and worked. But they became an incredible individual, and they come back and it's not like, I want them to say, hey, you were right, I was wrong, but they just recognize the growth, and then I got to see the growth that they were able to do, and I'm hoping that I was just a small part in helping them see where they needed to be in life and
Absolutely.
grow.
How cool is that? Well, there you go. We know a whole lot more about Coach Miriam Hill and Coach Flash, best name in the business, David Flaspohler, Osage Indians coaches. Thank you guys for coming by and joining us. Good luck this year.